Um, all right. So above the law, it is fascinating to see. Last week we talked about Biden, just like the slow drip of every week. There's another revelation of more classified documents. And of course, there were all the think pieces on why that was so much different from Trump having the classified documents. And apparently it's just the cover up, not the crime.
It's not the same.
Never the same. Never the same. We know because we know that Biden's not a liar and he has good intentions or whatever. But the truth is, whatever, they're both disgusting. I can't stand either one of them. But his documents were taken when he was vice president. So, like, even that kind of BS reasoning that Trump was coming up with, which is I'm the president, I can declassify anything, and he'd even tried to like retroactively declassify, but you can't do that when you're VP. So like there's really no reason for Biden to have between 25 and 30 or however they keep trying to phrase it, like it's not a lot.
Right. And even I always try to look at the devil's advocate. Like, okay, let's say there is a huge difference between what Trump did and Biden did. And there probably is.
Why?
Well, I mean, because he's not cooperating, right? I mean, that's one thing, you could
But argue. Is the crime having it or is the crime the cooperation?
Well, I mean, without us knowing what the documents actually are, we don't know. I mean,
but they're classified. Like you're not supposed to take them out of that room. That's the crime, is having the document.
But so my point is, let's say you're a person who thinks, well, the crime is that you didn't cooperate with them. You're not
right.
You're trying to be above the law. That's the major crime. Well, if you're propping up Biden, Biden, as Democrats always do, is deflate their main argument with their own actions matching the argument, or in some level, they always do this. And so Biden had a million opportunities to make this an issue. To be honest, to come out and just say, I had these documents, whatever. But they for political reasons, they lied and hid the fact that they knew that they had these documents, and that while they were pushing all the stuff against Trump on it. So it just kills their own argument against Trump. So even if it's crying wolf, like you cry wolf that Trump is so bad, I would believe you, but now you did sort of similar things and you hit it. So no matter what comes out of this, it's all a wash.
It's all a wash. And I mean, I think that this was something that a lot of people thought seriously that Trump could actually be indicted for. I guess Biden's people told the Department of Justice before the midterms, but the Department of Justice didn't announce that they knew about it until December. So that does make it look like a sort of craven political move on the part of the Department of Justice, which should be a disinterested party, right? And not be playing favorites. And they even announced the special counsel for to investigate Trump after they knew that Biden also had classified documents, but without revealing that he had. I mean, like it all just starts to feel dirty.
Yeah.
Well,
for kicks, I've been listening to right-wing radio in the morning.
Eesh.
Actually, only because left-wing radio, the tower went down with our storms, and I just happened to find this right-wing radio. But all they are talking about is how the parties are the same on this issue, which they're not that far off on. Like there's some validity to that. Like you can make the argument that that's the case.
Yep. Yeah. It's really bad. Yeah, that's funny. They repeat and Kamala.
Oh, and I mean, I actually tweeted about this, but the right-wing radio, like, because the people that listen to right-wing radio don't trust the media, because they rightfully shouldn't, because the media is full of shit. The mainstream media, they can see the bias and how this story is covered, for example.
Right.
But a million cases have happened where, if you're on the right, you have a reason to think, CNN's full of shit, MSNBC's is full of shit.
Right.
So you're right. But during all these shootings, they're saying, I literally heard them say, and they talked about this for an hour, that the mainstream media isn't even covering the shootings because the shooters were Asian and it wasn't a white male. So these people that are listening to this radio show, because they're so disenfranchised with the media that they've latched onto right-wing propaganda. They don't think that the media, they're not going to turn on CNN and watch this stuff. They don't think, they don't realize like that's an absurd lie. The media has done nothing but cover these stories. But they're like, oh, it's more white, poor white guys, you know. Oh,
anti-white. They're trying to erase white people or something. No, they've really made a mess of it. There's a reason that people distrust the media. Of course, right-wing media is just as much part of the establishment in its own way. And so they all thrive off of having this infighting between the left and the right. As crazy, I mean, like really crazy as some of that right-wing media can be. I don't even listen to it, but apparently you're going down that pipeline. But
this is where I learned that feminism is bad. It's my new thing.
Great. Keep tuning into that. This is what Snowden put out. How is it possible that I have fewer classified documents in my house than the last few White House administrations? The Espionage Act is a strict liability crime. Good intentions, Pat, are no defense. Under the law, these guys are all unindicted criminals. You know, I do think that that's an important thing to remind everybody that it doesn't matter what your intentions are. It's not, I mean, first of all, you know, ignorance of the law and all that kind of stuff is no excuse. I've been hearing that since I was little. But certainly these people know what it means to have classified documents. I mean, I know there's also a discussion about how many documents are classified in order to prohibit journalists from exposing what's happening, right? So like there is a whole idea that we have to kind of smash this classification scheme, because what it really does is it allows the government to get away with crimes and not be exposed. And there's no way to hold anybody to account if there's not transparency. So the more items that are classified, the more documents that are classified, the less transparency and knowledge we have. And that is the death of democracy. And if you start jailing, you know, like what we're doing to Assange and Daniel Hale and Ellsberg and, you know, all these people who are trying to expose government secrets, which are usually crimes, they're the ones who are then considered the criminals, and the government just keeps, you know, like Gina Haspel, one of the main CIA or torturers, becomes the head of the CIA. I mean, and the person who exposes it is rotting in Belmarsh prison. I mean, it's just vile.
I mean, you get promoted up in all evil governments if you're an evil person, which is what happens in our country.
That's right. I mean, do we want to talk about the new chief of staff who had to pay?
That's what I was thinking of, but I couldn't think of his position name. I was like, I think I had a Biden moment. I was like, the guy who runs his house, or, you know.
The chief of staff. Zients is going to be the next chief of staff. And just as a reminder, oh my goodness, we are not even going to be able to read this, but so he's done a lot of horrible things. One was his handling of COVID at the beginning of the Biden administration, which was basically just a big handout to pharmaceutical companies. But also he had to pay almost $7 million to resolve allegations of fraudulent Medicare and Medicaid billing from a company that he was running. So he should be in jail.
And for that not to be disqualifying for any position in Biden's administration. Let alone, what is it? What's the position?
Chief of staff.
Chief of staff. Chief of staff. I hear that's an important spot. Chief of staff is the COVID criminal. I mean, basically.
COVID criminal. And the Medicare stuff, I think, was even from 2015. So like made millions of dollars off of bilking people out of healthcare that they needed, that they had paid for. Right.
So this is where we always come back to, I mean, we don't always, but recently I'm coming back to, well, what the fuck is the squad doing on this? Like, because it's their own party, they cannot criticize this appointment. They can't draw some attention to. Who is going to draw attention to it? Because Democrats don't I mean, Democratic voters, normie Dems,
Yeah.
they're not listening to Fox News,
Right.
or, you know, I am, but
What is happening to you? Oh my God.
okay,
It's good to know
we
what the enemy's doing.
if we don't get at least 100 viewers by the end of this show, I'm going right.
I know. I've
It's
had
the
people
way.
say
It
that.
is the way.
Yeah, it's the way you
I'm
talk about things that just puts me
anti-masker.
off. I
Master
cannot
bullshit. I just got to tell
support healthcare as a human right if your
you. Yeah.
tone is off. It's just offensive. Yeah, I mean, it's outrageous. They're so busy lining up for and applauding, Hakeem Jeffries and Mama Bear, and I mean, they're useless. They've become completely useless.
Yeah. I mean, how are you?
Yeah,
If there's one thing the squad has on their resume, or, you know, their, I don't know what you want to call it. Their PR is that they fight for Medicare for all. They support Medicare for all. They tweet about Medicare for all every fucking 5 minutes, right? You know?
yeah. Well, not the first 2 years, but now they're starting again. Now that we
Yeah.
have a Republican Congress. Yeah,
Right. Now it's suddenly back again. It's in
yeah,
vogue. Pelosi said it's okay now.
yeah,
But if that's all you got, and you're placating the Democratic Party to make this big issue happen eventually and gradually
yeah.
gain some more support among Democrats in the Senate and the House and the voters, you got to criticize this guy.
Crickets, just crickets. Listen, they don't want relational harm. What the hell did AOC say? They want their committee assignments, which they don't get anyway. I don't know. I mean, there's some backroom deal that they keep promising for 2 years that they're working on stuff. They won't tell us. It's classified. It's classified. They could tell us, but they'd have to kill us.
I think we should run through a few other above the laws, since
Okay.
we only got 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to appreciate this. I mean, granted, you know, Hawley's crap and Republicans suck, but like, I appreciate that they called the law banning lawmakers from trading stocks, or the bill banning lawmakers from trading stocks, the Pelosi Act.
Yeah, that's good.
We don't even have what it means, but
No, wait, it's here. It's here. It's just above, right?
Oops, there it is.
Yeah.
Preventing elected leaders from owning securities and investments act. So God bless them for that one.
Yeah.
I love that.
But just as a reminder, Pelosi sold $3 million of Google stock 4 weeks ago, and yesterday the DOJ opened a lawsuit against Google to break up their tech monopoly. Pelosi gets a free pass for white collar crime. Anyone else would be in jail. And she has done this again and again and again. That Unusual Whales started tracking her. There's another, I'm sure most of you all know about it, but another Twitter account that's just like, Nancy Pelosi's stock trades, and if, following it, and how she always beats the system. And of course, I mean, there are hundreds of members of Congress who are guilty of the same, but nobody should be allowed to do it. So I really hope that, and I mean, this is another winning policy that is popular across the spectrum. And the only people it's not popular with are the 538 members of Congress. I mean, that's just, and they're donors, obviously. They're donors.
But here we go. Pete Buttigieg.
Oh my God.
An airline CEO admits that the ticket scam was permitted by Buttigieg.
Lovely. Yep.
But I call this good news, because Pete was elected this position, or appointed this position, to fluff his resume, and it's failing miserably.
I hope so. It might just be for a small group of us, because I think, what happens is, and this is so frustrating, he goes on Fox News, he has one good line, and then that, all those paid Democratic operatives start tweeting about it, and then people get really excited and they read it and they're like, oh, he knows how to handle them.
Yeah, well, you're right, because I mean, imagine he runs, hypothetically against Biden, or Biden drops out and he's our nominee or something. He's one of, if nobody points his record out, which is what happens, none of this matters. The only people that'll point it out is the right, and maybe the right wins. So that's not really a win necessarily for progressives, but like, this record gets hidden until past the primaries.
Exactly.
happens. Really.
Well, and it's fascinating because one of the best people on calling Pete Buttigieg out on this and doing really in-depth reporting is David Sirota over at The Lever. And every time he writes something about it, the replies from the liberal class is like, your boy lost, get over it. Well, first of all, like, that was a loss for this whole country. Like, we should really everybody should know that. I don't know what Bernie would have done in office, but certainly Biden was a worse choice and Hillary Clinton was a worse choice. And so, we all lost there. But like, they never want to deal with the substance of it. And being a corrupt politician should be called out. That, like, they are there to serve us.